Welcome back to the balance sheet. My name is Billy, and this is my co-host Raj. We are excited to have you with us again today. Lots to cover in the world of wrestling. I would dare say that we have about the most consistent momentum across the board of every company that we tend to talk about um, than we've had in a while. Generally speaking, one seems to be firing on all cylinders and the other one's kind of falling behind, but lots of great stuff to cover in WWE, storyline driven stuff with the women, AEW, a lot of good storyline driven stuff, some pay per view news, which is great to see. And then continued success on the independent scene, spearheaded by now 10 belts, Moné, Mercedes Moné, adding another title this week. So lots to talk about. And then at the end, we will give you our this week's top five, which is going to be our top five favorite finishers. So that's a fun one. And, so again, appreciate you guys always coming back. Make sure to like and subscribe on any platform that you consume this podcast on. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We appreciate you wherever you come from. So thank you again. Raj, I'm going to kick it to you. We're going to start with WWE. We had Crown Jewel in Perth, Australia yesterday. Couple big women's matches there. Champion versus champion, Stephanie Vicaire versus Tiffany Stratton. And then the long-awaited RHIYO. I don't know how to say that the right way. I always trip it up. But Rhea and Io Sky versus Asuka and Kairi Sane. What did you think of the show overall? And whichever match you want to start with.
So I actually was one of the weirdos. I got up at 5:30 my time, got myself my coffee, and I watched this thing from 6 a.m. all the way to the end. And then, I walked my dogs and did all that stuff. So first off, I thought it was the second best WWE PLE of the year after Evolution. I enjoyed it. I thought every match delivered what it needed to deliver. But obviously, we are a podcast that covers the women, so we are going to discuss both women's matches. I think I'm going to start with the champion versus champion match. Stephanie Vacour, the women's world champion, against Tiffany Stratton, and up to before this match, the previously unbeaten in singles action Tiffany Stratton, who is the WWE Women's World Champion, and they fought for the prestigious Crown Jewel belt, which had one previous winner, which was last year Liv Morgan. So
I
on a
miss Liv Morgan.
match, huh?
Sorry.
Yes, Liv, we all miss Liv Morgan. Liv, come back soon. So on a match where the first match got 30 minutes, the third match got 30 minutes, the fourth match got 20 minutes, the fifth match got 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and this match got 10 minutes. So this match got half the time of every other match on the card. And it was, in my opinion, a match that I really enjoyed for the 10 minutes. I thought this was the best Tiffany Stratton performance since her match with Becky Lynch in NXT. And again, I could even make a case this is her best performance ever because there was no plunder. It's not a street fight. There's no garbage cans. There's no tables. And
Yep.
Tiffany does very well in those matches.
Yep.
She's actually really good in those stunt kind of matches. So for a straight wrestling match where it's two baby faces and the dynamic was very weird, I thought it was a really good 10-minute match. I hated that it was 10 minutes, but then I have to ask myself, are they protecting? Because we know they're not protecting Stephanie, because we know Stephanie can go, 20 minutes. We know that. They've given that to her. But they have yet to give Tiffany more time unless it's a plunder match. And it makes me think they're protecting her because they don't think she can go that long in a straight
Right.
wrestling. So Tiffany Stratton did finally lose to the supernova, as I call her, Stephanie Vacour, who clearly they are putting some kind of NASA rocket ship on, and she is not going to lose for a while, and that's fine. It was a good match. I
Yeah.
don't think it was great. I don't think, like, put it this way. I of the so we had a lot of TV women's matches this week. We had Maxine and Becky Lynch, we had Lyra Roxanne, we had a tag match, which is Stephanie Tiffany versus Julia and Kiana James. We also had on AEW Mercedes versus Lacey Lane. I would say of all of those matches I just laid out, this might have been the worst match of all of them, but it was still a good match. And I just think that if you're going to put the belt on Tiffany the way they have, and you have given her this complete, ridiculous, utter push, she's going to have to work more than 10 minutes. Like, she's
Yep.
just have to work because in a company with Roxanne and Lyra and Asuka and Io and Kyrie and Rhea and Bianca and Becky and Charlotte and I guess, Alexa and AJ and Nikki. There's so many women on this roster. She's got to work 10 more than 10 minutes. And other than that, I just thought it was a good match. Like I am not going to tell you
Yeah.
that it was the greatest thing I ever saw, but I thought it was better than
Yeah.
I expected.
Yeah. I think it highlighted everything that we know is coming with Stephanie. And I think it gave us a final answer on everything that we have wondered about Tiffany for going on. I wouldn't say all 10 months of her reign, because I think she was pretty hot those first couple months, but let's say since WrestleMania on, right? They don't trust her to work longer matches. I actually thought she looked good in the time that they had. You and I texted about it, but um, it's clear that at this point in her career, she looks better with someone who works faster than her athletically and or as fast as her athletically, less thinking, more kind of muscle memory movement. Now she may mess up and sell a wrong knee like she every once in a while, but it's going to look good in the ring. Um, and so I think if you put her in there, she would have a great match with EO. She would have a great match with people who would have to just stress test her athletically, um, but are also seasoned, sound wrestlers. You can't put her in. Jade is athletically incredible, but she's a raw wrestler. So someone who is a great worker, who also does things quick. Um, I actually thought that they were working themselves into a good spot. I think it's pretty clear that she's undefeated for 10 months by, I wouldn't say accident, but they didn't go into this reign trying to do that because this was a pretty unceremonious way to break that streak. Stephanie's like the right person, but they didn't really play it up enough. A 10-minute match, they didn't make it a struggle. It's kind of like the Undertaker thing. For people who don't know, no one had the bright idea to have the Undertaker go on an undefeated WrestleMania streak. No one was like, "This will be great." They just looked up one year and he was 8-0 based on 8 separate decisions that they had made, including one count out. So that one, yeah, real strong on a count out, right? Um, and they were like, "Oh crap, we should roll with this and make it a thing." Kind of like, as much as Sasha Banks fans want to complain, nobody backstage was like, we should make sure she always loses at WrestleMania. It happened by accident, and just one year you look up and she's 0-5, right? Um, they're not as organized backstage as we'd like them to be. And Tiffany has gotten here by one weekly decision after another. Tiffany, should she wrestle? Yes or no? Yes. Who's she wrestling? Naya. Should she lose? No. Tiffany, wrestle, yes or no? Yes. Jade, no. I mean, they're literally making binary decisions week by week, is what it feels like. Because you laid out is there a plan for this? And it doesn't feel like there is. They're waiting for Bianca, is what it feels like to me.
To me, I would hope. So she lost, and I would hope on SmackDown, Kiana James says, "Hey, if you had taken my card, you would have beat
That'd
her."
be great. That'd be
Right? So
great.
that would tell me that there's a plan. I disagree that they didn't have this plan with Tiffany, and I'll tell you why. I would agree with you if there was some doubt of her beating Charlotte, but I thought, okay, this is the hurdle. Once she clears Charlotte at Mania, they're not going to beat her for a while because remember, Charlotte came back from a career-threatening injury, won the Royal Rumble, and she lost clean as a sheet.
If Bianca doesn't break her finger at WrestleMania, you're telling me she doesn't have this belt right now.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
okay. So see, the thing about the Bianca thing though is how do I know Naomi isn't the one cashing in on Tiffany and Bianca's chasing Naomi, right? Like we don't
That's
know.
what that's kind of the point I'm making is no one in January or even April was like, Tiffany, man, we're gonna book a year-long reign and someone's gonna topple her. I think they just have ended up here month by month. It's almost more impressive. Every chance they have a chance to choose somebody else, they've looked at Tiffany and said, no, we're good with this. So that part's good. The flip side is they have to put more on her plate then. She has to be the matches have to be longer than 10 minutes, especially against people who are really good.
Yeah.
It's not like they're asking her to carry a call up, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Like like that's the thing. Even if I look at the SmackDown roster that gets a lot of flack, the women's roster, it's still Charlotte Flair. It's still Alexa Bliss. It's still Julia. Like it's still Bianca Belair. Like it's women who are really like maybe other than Alexa who are really really good and can go a long time. And it's funny that her best chemistry so far that I have seen other than this match in the main roster, she has really good chemistry with Jade, which is weird. And I liked her and Kiana James. I
yeah,
thought her and Kiana James were doing some really cool stuff in the tag match.
both people who are in wrestling because of their athleticism.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that where it's like gymnast, right? A gymnast routine. And I'm not saying that as a negative. I'm saying Tiffany, she came up as a all world gymnastics person. And so her brain, if you're like, hey, we're gonna flip and go sideways and Alabama slam, she's like, I can do that. Like I can do that in my sleep. She just needs someone who can athletically move at a similar pace to her and make that work. It's the it's the nuance, the slow down, the sell something, the work the crowd that she's just still very green in. And that's she's still very young in her career. It sounds like we're criticizing her week after week, but at the end of the day, it's just because she has the belt. If she was wrestling as much as she is, but without that top title, we'd probably be talking about the progress she's making. It's just they're so deeply talented to have someone have that belt that can only have 10-minute matches. That's the
Yeah.
part that's tough.
I think if you got to kind of cut the training wheels off her.
Yes.
But before we get to the tag match, which I could talk about for 2 hours, Stephanie Vacour is in an interesting place because she's very over.
Yeah.
And she's one of the few individuals that the more she cuts a promo and trying to speak English, people like her even more. Like it's passionate and people feel for her. But somebody messaged me because we haven't talked about Stephanie in a while, which is shocking of a podcast I'm affiliated with. But the person asked me an honest question. He said, "Okay, I know we all know Stephanie's a tremendous wrestler. She's great. You take away the devil's kiss, is she as over as she is?" And I said, "No, probably not." I mean, but I don't think that's a criticism.
Yeah. Here's my disappointment with it. This is honest truth. And for those who don't know me, I think it's one of the reasons why we enjoy doing this podcast together. We're both memory people, fact people. We remember a sporting event that happened in 1988, a play that was called, a play that was run out of a timeout, which teams the Pistons beat on the way to the title, in their back-to-back years. Like we remember weird stuff. I go back and see if Stephanie did the devil's kiss to Mercedes in either of the matches.
She did. In second match, she did
She
100%.
did. But the point I'm making is it was such a little part about what made her special in those two matches.
I see. Yeah.
She didn't need it. She didn't do it in Long Beach, and she did do it in Newark,
Yeah.
the second match. The point I'm making is And now that when I went back and said, yeah, Mercedes sold it, and Mercedes did the big helicopter arms and sold the crap out of it on the mat. Like, I remember once it comes up, but it wasn't a focal point of the match. It wasn't why she was over. And that's the part I'd love to get away from it now that she's champion. I would love for demon that she is in the ring to just stand out more, and that to be less of why the crowd thinks she's incredible, because I don't think that's how she got here. I think that they have that very NXT specific crowd that got obsessed with it. Booker T did his thing, and it's kind of become a bigger part of the story than it should have been. That's also the way you and I look at women's wrestling. We're not in it for that type of thing, you know. Could not criticizing that she's leaned into it. Hey, you get to the top. You got something in the ring that the fans are reacting to. That's the business. She's so good in every other area.
Well, I think the other thing with that move is you have the perfect now move for her heel turn. Because if she ever goes heel, she teases it and never does it.
Yeah,
That's the
that's true.
easiest way for her to become a heel, right? Like she teases it, looks at the crowd's like, oh my God, and then she doesn't do it. And she's like, yeah, you guys don't deserve it. And think of the pop she'll get the first time she goes back to babyface and does it.
Yeah.
Like think of the first time she does it as a babyface after being a heel for like a year and she doesn't do it. She'll be the most over person. But look, um the WWE, to their credit, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, why are you giving them credit for this? Tony Khan didn't see that she could become this, right? I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care what anybody was reporting about how much money they offered her. If they could have presented her, hey, we're gonna make you a big super duper superstar, and we're gonna make you like the equivalent of Rhea Ripley, she stays in AEW, but she didn't. She went to
No,
WWE.
she said she wasn't signing with AEW with the WWE contract on the table. She's gone back and said that. You
Yeah.
know, I at the end of the day, I like the first match with Mercedes better as a match, but Tony's mistake, if they would have wrestled a AEW only style match, if they would have wrestled, if her and Mercedes would have wrestled the first match they had and just redid it in front of an AEW crowd, um, I don't know that WWE throws as much money at her, and I think Tony gets to sign her because the money difference would have been greater and the promises would have been less. Mercedes worked that looks like that could have been a Sasha, but that match could have been on WWE TV.
Yeah,
It was very star driven. It was very play to the crowd, both sides, right? I mean, they set up that spot with her launching herself over the ropes at Mercedes on the outside. It was very, very, very star making performance for her, and it was produced in a way to be like, look at this. And they probably shouldn't have done that to that level. They could have just had like a speed demon match, like what they did in NJPW. Just a lot of reversals, a lot of counters, a lot of hard hitting, but a little bit less on the like aura farming, I guess you'd call it.
and I'll be honest, I'm thankful they did the second match because I don't think AEW does anything with Stephanie the way WWE did. Like
To
I
this
just
level, no,
because
no
they're not really. I mean, I'm being honest here. I don't think they're capable. Like they have yet to show me that they can build a superstar to the level of what WWE has done for Stephanie McCour. Like,
What about Timeless Tony?
I mean, is Timeless Tony Storm like? Is she have? I guess, but I don't. I look.
Hangman,
No, I mean, but
MJF.
like Hangman isn't like. I know people who don't even watch wrestling who know Stephanie McCour is because of Instagram. That's what I mean.
I know, but again, we're talking about just a gigantically different platform, right? I mean, people who think AEW is going to overtake WWE don't know the business well enough. AEW is an A plus success firmly at number two and never going to be number one. Like that, like people who think one day AEW, it's not going to happen, right? Like if you taste the greatest Coca-Cola or soda ever tomorrow you go to a store and you're like, man, this is the greatest can of soda I've ever had in my life. They're not overtaking Coca-Cola. I don't care what it tastes like. They're not. They're not. Not in our lifetime. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's ingrained and
Is it
um
possible that TNA overtakes them?
more likely TNA overtakes AEW than it is AEW takes over WWE.
Yeah, because recently
And again, this is that is not what that is not what AEW success should be measured on.
yeah, I agree. I like
AEW success should be measured on Santos Escobar was told that he could walk by WWE and he said, "Oh, they said this much money or no," and he said, "Cool," and then he went and he was going to probably sign with AEW and they said, "We'll give you more money." That's the success we're looking for
yeah,
because
yeah,
they
no,
are a
no.
real number 2.
So before we get to the tag match, the thing what I'm where I'm going with this is like I love the character of Timeless Tony Storm, but I never felt like her presentation is like this. Like when Stephanie Vacour comes out, I freeze. Like I stop everything I'm doing. And I don't know if I've yet to see that in any presentation with AEW. I don't care who it is. And like the way they do the fire for her and the way they have her music set up and like just the way that they present Stephanie Vacour, she feels like a big damn deal. Like every single time she comes out, she feels like from the time she came out with Io against Io, the crowd was just into her, right? From her NXT stuff. And obviously she did the ratings on NXT. So like I'm just happy as somebody who is a fan of this woman, and I'm probably a bigger fan than most anyway. It's like I love seeing her being presented at the peak of her powers. I feel like in AEW she would be grouped in with Jamie Hayter, and she'd be grouped in with Chris, and she'd be grouped in with. But to me, that's okay. But I feel like she's above. Like she could be Rhea Ripley. Like to me, I feel like Rhea Ripley versus Stephanie Vacour is like absolutely a WrestleMania main event. Like no question. And I don't know if I get that feeling about Stephanie in AEW. Now, with that being said, speaking of main events, um, I want to talk about the tag match, and I'll let you give your thoughts on it before I give you what I saw. In I could make a strong case. This was one of the three best women's tag matches of the modern era in WWE. So the match was Rio, which is Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, versus the Kabuki Warriors, which is Asuka and Kairi Sane. And they got 21 minutes with a hot crowd. And they went out there and they absolutely, in my opinion, tore the house down. They had a great tag match. And the story was very simple: build to the hot tag with Rhea.
Yep.
And Io is getting beat up the whole match by who she considered her family. And to me, I mean, again, I might be biased here. Maybe I am, maybe I am not. But like, I just don't know how Io isn't the number, like in everybody's book, the best wrestler in the world. Like, I don't get it. I don't know how I can argue against her anymore because she just.
I have an easy argument.
What's the argument? Who she
I
faces?
mean, we'll derail the show, but yeah, that's the argument.
Mm-hmm.
She's every week wrestling people she's wrestled 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 times. I'm not saying she's not the best in the world, but that's the argument. You put me in there with someone who I've trained with for a decade, I better look like $1 million. All three of these women, I mean, how many times has she wrestled Kyrie and Asuka?
I mean, she was wrestling Kyrie and Asuka before we knew each other. So yes, I mean,
So
I mean, she
that's
is,
the argument. I'm
but
not I don't I think we got more to cover than to
yeah,
have
yeah,
that
yeah.
argument. But the argument is if she flew to Denmark, met Alice Inc. and shook her hand and jumped in there for an 18-minute match, what would the match look like?
I know
Not
exactly.
speaking the same language.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good perspective on this argument because there was a podcast. I don't know who did it. I don't know the name, and I apologize if that person is listening to this show. I want to give you the credit because this individual had a really good argument as okay, like when I watch a Mercedes match, it doesn't matter who she's working with. I'm getting like a new, fresh kind of approach and a story. And he was a little critical of EO, which I wanted to mute, but he said like if EO knows she's in there with lesser than, she's giving you 30% EO. She's like, okay, I'm gonna get through this match. I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna go home. But
Lean
if
heavy on the this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's like, but my question to that person is, A, where has that match been in recent WWE? Because she's not wrestling somebody new anymore, right? Like all of her matches in the last 2 years have been Bianca, Bailey, Raquel, Roxanne. Like she's wrestling people she's like you said, wrestled multiple times. And then
She had a match, it was probably a year ago. And again, Sonya got released right after, but that was the last one I remember being just
Sonya,
physically tough to watch.
I remember that. I remember that match.
And everyone was like, "Well, Sonya, if you can't have a decent match with EO, you're probably not, and I hate to say that, that sounds crass, but that's you have EO as your number one, and when you say there's no argument against her, that's the argument. That
Yeah, no, I,
that
I I get it. Like I guess who your competition is in wrestling matters because like there is a degree of difficulty, and I'm totally fine with the other side of the coin as well. But so yeah, this match was great. I thought Asuka and Io were the
she
stars of
looks
this
so
match.
good.
They,
Oscar looks so good.
yes, she
44 years
does.
old.
Yeah, Asuka's amazing. Asuka's looked like one of the best in the world as she's always been. They had a Stardom throwback that looked like a Stardom Grand Prix match. They were beating the crap out of each other. They were hitting each other as hard as they could. And so I am mouth watering knowing that Io is in this mode going to Japan to wrestle Mayu. But yeah, this match was a killer match. And I think I think it speaks to EO more than anything else because in Australia, EO is as over as Rhea Ripley. So the fact that in Australia somebody could be as over as Rhea Ripley, a woman, that speaks volumes. And kudos to her for that. But yeah, this match was great. Kyrie's amazing. Kyrie's back to being Kyrie.
Love Kyrie's work
Um,
right now.
yeah, like I thought all four women killed it. This was my match of the night. This was one of the best tag matches in recent memory. I still think there's a EO Dakota Kai. I think it's like no, 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 no. It was Bianca Naomi versus Liv Morgan and Raquel. That match was killer on Raw. That was the last women's tag match I remember being like super, super great. But this match was phenomenal. Like I said, man, I just want to see Io wrestle every day. So yeah, that's it. That was my
Yeah, no, I think you covered it pretty good. I love the work Kyrie's doing. She has my favorite story arc in this because again, she's caught in the middle. So, EO, it's pretty straightforward. She didn't do anything wrong. Asuka's the big bad. Kyrie's stuck in the middle, and Rhea's just kind of there, like, hey, I was just being, you know, a good friend to this person. Um, we might need to talk about this next week because we could probably talk about this for an hour. Does WWE have a women's heel problem? And hear me out. They will not push Asuka all the way. She's very firmly in that role that we were frustrated that Sasha was in for a long time. She's gonna work fire in the ring. She's gonna be very over as a heel character, but in the past they tend she's not beating Io, right? Like she's not winning this feud. And I know Becky, is doing her thing, but there is not a heel roster that you could reasonably say is going to stand tall over a Rhea Ripley or a Stephanie Vicaire or a Io Sky or a Bianca Belair, even for 6 months.
Not Becky?
I'm not not after the AJ thing. No, I don't. Like I mean physically. Becky's gonna have to lean into the evil, undermining, willing to do anything, willing to hurt people. Because with as physically imposing as Rhea is, does Becky seem to take booking out of it? Does Becky seem even anywhere near as dangerous as Asuka does?
No, no, no. I think if
And
you're
so,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying is I wish they would let Asuka actually dominate for 6 months
So
and
what you want
seeing,
in
yeah,
theory is on Monday tomorrow, Asuka beats Stephanie Vacour and carries the title to Mania against Io. That would be then your story.
it doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but essentially they're so loaded on the babyface side, and I don't see them turning any of them. I guess the other option would be Stephanie, have her do that heel turn where she's like, maybe calls everyone a pervert for liking the devil's kiss too much. But um if they do it right, she is a heel that could generate money because people are still going to tune in whether she's playing baby or not because of the aura and everything that you were talking about. But I can't recall a time where they were, even if it's Becky, rank the mountain. What place does Becky come in importance right now? Booking power and importance.
And she has to be top five
She's
because
probably she's fourth or fifth, right?
yeah, I mean, I would say Rhea, Stephanie, Io seem to be the three that they care about the most. Um,
Naomi was doing it. So Naomi
yes.
Naomi
So
was what I'm talking about. Someone
yeah,
who is like, even if I'm not better than you in the ring, I'm so crazy you're not gonna beat me. Like Asuka's in that spot right now. I just don't know that they're gonna pull the trigger. And Becky has leaned a little goofier
I'm
with
sorry.
a
I,
mid card
I
title, and that's okay.
I used to always think that Mania would be like Rhea, Stephanie for the title. I'm starting to think that it should be Asuka, Io for the title. I'm starting to think it should be Asuka beat Stephanie at some point. I could make a strong case that Asuka should win the world title and Kyrie should be the one to beat her, not even Io,
Oh,
because
I'd
of the
love that.
story, right? But
That's the story. Asuka, if Asuka's gonna have a big match at Mania, though, she needs to win. She's never won at Mania still.
I know, yeah. So, but that's the thing. In her current character, she's not going to win at Mania
It's true.
unless the
I
match is against Kyrie.
so if it's in the cards for EO to beat Asuka, they need to quickly. I don't know, man. I hate for her to get to this spot again and not have somewhere to go. And she's not going to be the one to take the title off of Becky, the IC title. The other option would be Julia, but they need to give her some actual TV time and the the reason I say a babyface problem is you can't have this many dominant baby faces without having a dangerous heel, someone
Yeah,
that
yeah.
people are afraid of, and they
It's
just don't have it right now,
it's why
except for
Naomi
Asuka. Yeah,
is it's why Naomi is so needed and why
yeah.
not having Naomi on this roster is a huge hole because Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vacour, and Io can't beat each other all the time, right? Because they're too
Yeah.
protected. So they need to have somebody who can beat them, but beat them in a way that protects them, but beat them in a way where at least
Or,
you have some hatred towards like this heel.
or you have three baby faces that can never lose, on top of AJ Lee, who's not going to lose anytime soon, right? Even though she'll wrestle less.
That's why AJ winning the Intercontinental title isn't the greatest idea because now you literally have three out of your four titles with protected, super protected baby faces, right?
Right.
Stephanie's protected. Tiffany is protected. And then if AJ gets the belt, she's going to be protected. So it's like, I guess this is sometimes where I've always said you need to like, okay, wins and losses absolutely do matter. And they shouldn't be treated like how Vince McMahon treated wins and losses. But now they've overcorrected the other way. Like when EO loses, EO lost clean to one person, Stephanie Vacour. EO has not lost clean to anybody other than Stephanie since losing to Bailey. And it's like she loses to Roxanne, but it's hokey. She
She
loses to,
lost clean to Lyra, didn't she?
yeah, that okay. So that was like the whole I have my leg isn't working, that one. That was the leg. Yeah, but Lyra's a babyface too. And okay, so now Lyra, she's even part of this mix now, right? Because she's protected. So you just have way too many really top level baby faces.
Is the Bailey endgame character that she becomes so crazy that she's the top heel? I mean, I don't. It's just so light on that side. It's so light.
I think Asuka's the answer to the question.
Yeah,
It's just how
they've
far they
just never
go
done it. They
off.
never pull that trigger with her. They let her get to the top rung of the ladder, and then they're like, and you lose. I mean, that's been main roster her forever, babyface or heel, frankly.
I mean, I don't see why at WrestleMania you can't do this. You can't go Asuka gets the title, fights Kyrie for the title. I don't understand why you can't just do Rhea versus Io where there is no title and it's literally Rhea saying, I got to prove that I can beat you. Like, I got to
Yeah,
prove I can beat you. What is wrong with just that match? Are people going to tell me that that wouldn't be one of the biggest matches on the card? Does
does
it
it?
have
Yeah,
to have a title? So, we're going from we're talking about on WWE TV the lack of dominant heels and dominant champion heels to AEW slash Mercedes Monet, where there's a lot of noise, like there always is with Mercedes, that oh, here we go again. She won another belt. So, you want to walk us through kind of what her independent week was like?
yeah. So she won. She flew to Denmark and on Friday won the Body Slammers championship, which had been held for 1,100 days by an independent wrestler in Europe, Alice Inc. ALISS, and then INK. Um, the match was not streamed live. They have aired small clips of it. It seemed like the crowd was super, super hot. They had a really cool announcer here at this show in Denmark who was real over the top. People seem to be enjoying him as well. Um, couple female wrestlers wrestling. So a couple women's wrestlers wrestling men on the card, including one 18-year-old who uh, is a wrestler because of looking up to Mercedes, who got to meet her after. But a really, really cool event all the way around. Mercedes won the title. Um, Said on a live that studying Alice, she realized on her flight over, this might be the most talented woman who I've stepped in the ring with on the independent scene. And she's been in there with some good ones. So I guess she landed in Denmark and was like, okay, this could be really, really good. And then after the match on a live, she put over Alice huge and said she was one of the best performers she's been in there with ever. Um, I think the match was 16, 17 minutes. Uh, got this is awesome chance, had the crowd the hottest of the night in the main event per people who were there. So it's going to get posted to IWTV, I think, Indie Wrestling Television at some point. So definitely look out for it. So that's the 10th belt. I think it's the eighth championship. One of the belts is the Owen Hart tournament, and then the other is the Rev Pro came with two belts. So it's the eighth championship. So of course, people who don't watch body slammers and didn't know people in Denmark wrestled and had never heard of Alice Inc. are so upset, that Mercedes has this title, and they have to go on the internet and yell about it. But body slammers and Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, who we'll talk about who she's wrestling with next week, have their promoters have all come out and talked about how much she's helped the business, interactions on their socials, ticket sales, not only more tickets sold, but at a higher price. Um, so people continue to miss the point in her doing this. And show one is just the beginning. And after I get your opinion and you've got some good thoughts on the business part of this upcoming Friday, she's wrestling in CMLL. And we'll talk about show one when she wins the belt. That's just the setup. Putting the ball on the tee and the home run and the money to be made is over here when it happens. And if you can trust anyone to make sure that that home run happens, it's Mercedes. So we'll get into the CMLL match, but what were your thoughts on just her, winning a belt in Denmark and kind of this whole independent journey
Yeah,
she's on?
I think it's two separate topics, right? Like I think number one, her winning these belts, it really, really propels those titles and it propels those independent promotions. And, if you've ever been an independent wrestling promoter, and I know some from the city I grew up in Toronto, it is hard to sell tickets to an independent show with just independent talent that don't have big names. And historically, independent shows that have had success have always had to bring in a top star from another promotion to move the tickets. And look, in this era of wrestling, the 2025 era, where you know it's either on Netflix or it's AEW or it's TNA, Mercedes is really the last beacon of that super top star that is working the independents to draw business and to bring spotlight to these promotions, right? Like this is a company in Winnipeg that normally does, 5 to 600 tickets. And now, they're doing 1,600 tickets. So that's a 3x multiplier with higher ticket prices. Because remember, with the WWE TKO exponentially raising their ticket prices, to see a WrestleMania main eventer is going to be hard now because you're going to have to pay WrestleMania ticket prices. Well,
Yep.
times are tough. People have things, there's other things to spend your money on than, $70,000 WrestleMania tickets. So it's like, hey, a WrestleMania main eventer who's still in her prime is coming to my backyard. I can go see her for $56, $75. That's a good price. And in an independent show, if you've ever been to an independent show, and I've been to many, you're much closer to the action. You can interact much better. You're going to
Usually
probably
meet and greet after, which
there-
there was in Denmark. Yep.
there's the meet and greet after. You're going to get more of a personal touch. It's like why people who love music prefer their favorite artist to perform at the House of Blues than they prefer them to perform at you know Nissan Stadium in Nashville. Like it's just a more intimate feel. Where I'm going with this is Mercedes is doing, something that should be applauded and commended. All of these independent promotions are better from having her in their building, having her represent them with their title. That title is now going on worldwide AEW television that's seen all over the world. So it's like I see that belt and I'm like, who? What's that promotion about? Let me go Google them. Let me go research them. Where people are confusing the two, and I've done this too, is they're looking at her AEW reactions and her AEW character overness, and then they're equating it to her not being a success in these independent promotions, and they're two separate things. Because to those independent promoters and those independent fans, they're getting Sasha Banks slash Mercedes Moné in her full, like, unbridled character. Whereas on AEW TV, a lot of it's still going to stem from what Tony and the writers write for her and the character and the storyline that she's in. But on these independent shows, it's like, hey, I get to see my favorite for 30 minutes one night, and she's just going to be herself. Like when I saw her in New Japan against Momo, I remember saying, okay, why didn't I get that person against Britt Baker? And a lot of times it has nothing to do with her. It's the environment and it's the booking. But in these
Yeah,
independents, she's allowed to be more herself because she's the star. She's the draw.
you nailed it. So if you go back and look, she's this tweener kind of badass in all these independent New Japan, Rev Pro, and then all the independents. She wrestles that tweener badass that is the best in the world in the ring and has the heart to push through anything to win the match. And that's her base character. The only places that she's the full heel character, funny enough, and it's a good transition. So it's AEW, she's played the CEO. Where else is she playing fully the CEO? CMLL. CMLL is AEW aligned, right? They do TV, a couple once or twice a year, but it's actually beautiful how well it works in CMLL because those fans we talked about a couple weeks ago, AEW fans very much sit on their hands and they go, do something to make me clap.
Mm.
It's so annoying. I'm going to continue to say it. It's so annoying. Um, hey, do you want to fall on some spikes or something to make me clap? They like it's beyond it hurts the pay-per-views. That's kind of why their better shows have been in England because the crowds are not so they're happier to be at the show and cheer everything that's going on. These CMLL crowds are hot. They're hot like
Yeah.
WWE crowds. That
Yeah.
La Catalina match that she had was incredible. And this CEO character, when she gets to work full heel with a crowd that's participating in the story, is as good as any heel work in the world. We are going to see that on Friday, ladies and gentlemen. I am more excited for this Persephone match than I have been for any match since the Tony match. Um, she can and may and possibly should lose to Persephone.
Yeah.
And let me walk everyone through it. Every independent belt she's won. Point A is her winning the belt. Now there may be a point B and a point C and a point D, like Rev Pro, where she won the belt, does another show, wins again, does another show, wins again. It may not be wins the belt, loses the belt. But when it's time for her to lose to the chosen person, you put it in the main event in front of a hometown crowd for that person. And that person gets to go out there and say that they brought the belt back home. They slayed the dragon. They beat Mercedes Moné. They toppled the CEO in the main event in front of a sellout crowd. It's all set up for Friday. Now, I'm not saying Mercedes is going to lose. What CMLL has to ask themselves, who's going to beat her? Is it Persephone? If it is, Friday's the time. Would you agree?
I don't know because I always thought that company was building around La Catalina. I
If it's
hate.
not well, here's the thing. If it's La Catalina, that's perfect because the crowd is going to be dying for Persephone to win, dying, and
I
it's going to be a hot main event. She loses. Now they want Mercedes to be beat even more, and then you have La Catalina come out and say
I hate to say who's gonna beat Mercedes. I hate to say it.
it's not her. Don't say it. Don't
You
put that in the world.
oh, I I just have this feeling that they're building to that match. I just have because, and again, let's be fair here. Mercedes is friends with this person. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
Let's be fair here. Let's not pretend like, oh, this would be something Mercedes wouldn't sign up for. And they've always
it's
wanted
it's
to wrestle on
it's
a big match kind of state
it's
set.
not even that, but if you're gonna have okay, if you're gonna have Mercedes take your belt, doesn't a local not outsider need to win the belt
Isn't
from
that what
her?
she, I mean, she was in CMLL for years, right?
Yeah, but she's still an American.
No, hold on. But then you're saying that Stan Hansen shouldn't win, he shouldn't have won all Japan world titles, right? Because Stan Hansen was an American, but he was considered them, like one of
But
them.
who did Stan Hansen drop the belt to?
Oh God, you're making me work here. Let me think. What's his name? Oh my goodness, he was the who was Baba's who was his rival in Japan? Hansen. I mean, he lost the belt to Brody in Japan, but like he like
To
where
me,
I'm going,
Stan Hansen,
yeah.
yeah,
I look
whoever
at
he
it as
lost to, he lost to a Japanese wrestler, right?
yeah, but I'm saying like they look at her as all not like she's one of them. Like she lived in Mexico City. She worked out of that company for 3 years. Like I said, I don't know. Like I would love to see her lose Friday because the lady who's gonna beat her is from the city I live in, and I think that would be really, really cool, given the Eddie Guerrero tie-ins. But I don't know, like I feel like seeing that this person came back and they did this big interview with her, I just have this vision that she's gonna beat Persephone and that person's coming out to challenge her. And they're
And
setting the next match.
it totally could happen. I would actually bet that Mercedes wins that match then.
I mean, it
Yeah,
could.
so what for fans listening, let's support this show on Friday. It's an all women's event. This should be the main event. It's going to be, I don't know attendance figures for it, but this is one of those matches as a Mercedes fan. If she loses, it's the right time, and if she wins, it's also the right time. And it's entirely up to CMLL and what their plans are for that belt and who's supposed to win it from her, who they want made, right? Because Persephone is over enough and is a big enough character in that company that this could be the time. And you say, well, what about her belt collecting? She's gonna win a belt on Sunday. She's gonna win a belt in Winnipeg on Sunday. It's kind of what happened with the New Japan Strong Belt. She lost that belt, and then she showed up unannounced in Austria and won a belt that we didn't even know she was going for. So
I
path
hope
to
she,
11 belts may not be linear. She may lose Friday and end up winning on Sunday.
yeah.
Before
I
we move on to go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, like, right now, I want Mercedes to win on Friday night simply because I enjoy her work outside of AEW more than I enjoy her work in AEW. Like,
The CMLL work's been some of her
I
best stuff.
just, I know I'm gonna sound like I'm such a hater and I'm this and that, but like the theme song doesn't work for me. The character in AEW just doesn't work for me. Like it just doesn't work. Like I sat in an audience ringside in Toronto and it's just like I feel like somebody who I saw in Orlando or I saw in LA who got the loudest reaction should be getting more in this company. And so when I see her in CMLL or NJPW or the show, the match she had, the last belt she won before the belt in Denmark, where was that? The really, really good match. Like it was with
Emerson Jane, the
okay,
Scotland.
yeah, like everything outside of AEW that she does, I think it's great. But
So,
in
so real quick,
AEW, other than Harley, other than the Harley stuff, I don't feel it. Like it's just there's no juice for me right now.
walk me through the difference between her character and presentation in the Riho match and the La Catalina match in CMLL.
Well, one, I
I
think,
mean, I get you were in the crowd, but walk
yeah,
me through what she did different.
I think Lick Catalina, because she's a native of that country, it's so much easier to play the heel and get a reaction from the crowd. And I also think La Catalina looks more of like a threat to me that she could actually beat her. Like,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, but that's her opponent. You said you don't like the music, you don't like the vibe, you don't like
yeah,
the character.
mhm,
She
yeah,
did the exact same things. She just had one group of 18,000 people eat it up and one group of 12,000 people not care, and it might have been related to her opponent. The point I'm making is it's still, to me, anything looks like a bad character if no one reacts to it. I mean, if Io showed up tomorrow anywhere to crickets and did this and no one did it with her, she'd look like a moron.
yeah. Like
So
that.
it's
It's
still an
weird, right?
AEW
Like
connection
sitting in
issue.
that crowd, like she's a heel, but like when she played the heel role with La Catalina, it worked so well, right? And again, I think maybe some of my just hang up is I don't like Rio. Like I don't like her as a wrestler. She doesn't do anything for me. But like, again, and you know the story, one of my best friends I took to the show and he has now become, a crew member. Like he has researched her matches and watched it. And he was so excited to go see her in person. And after the show, he's like, dude, how come no one reacted? Like, he goes, I watched the match at WrestleMania that you sent me with Bianca, and like people were like crying in the audience. And then I come here in Toronto, and like there's a lot of people in this building, and these fans were caring about stuff, but like they didn't care. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I've been to like 30 of her matches in my life, and this is the least reaction she's ever gotten. So I don't know.
Yeah. So I totally get what you're saying. At this point, she doesn't have a connection as strong with the AEW crowd as you would like, considering that's where her home base is. And we've got to figure that out. She's got to figure it out. I do think it's possible that her kind of reading into some of the stuff she said on her live, what, she didn't give any specifics, but she said she's setting up some things that are going to be huge for 2026. I think some of that is losing some of these belts to people who she wants to put over. Um, I do think that her and Tony kind of have a handshake agreement, like, hey, I'm on this world tour type deal. I just want to wrestle on pay-per-views and like I don't like I'll be around, sure, but like there's probably like not too much stress going on what she's doing on AEW TV because she's doing all these other things. Either way, she seems happy and that doesn't seem like her. She would normally be, if this was all she's doing, she would be figuring out how to get that connection more so with the crowd.
Here's what I want to say about her before we pivot. What I want out of her in AEW going forward, I want a story. I
Yeah,
want I
that's what
want
I'm saying.
character. I want something other than, hey, I'm this person winning belts and other promotions that most of the people in this crowd will never watch. Hey, look at me. Like it's just a hollow character. And I know it hurts when I say this and people get so offended, like, oh, she's, you know, it's like you're talking about, somebody of the higher power that you can't say something about, but like she's not must see TV for me anymore in AEW. She just isn't. Like other than when she wrestles. When she wrestles, she's must see TV. But if it's a promo segment, if it's a backstage segment, it's like, I'll catch it on YouTube. Like it's not, I have to stop what I'm doing to watch it. It just doesn't, it's just not resonating with me. But I will say she had a really good match with Lacey on Dynamite,
Lacey Lane.
Lacey Lane, which, she was recently released from NXT WWE. And I thought it was Lacey Lane's best singles match for sure. And I really thought like that was why Mercedes is Mercedes, like that match. Like taking somebody who is new to this audience, nobody really has an investment in, And she just goes out there and sells like $1 million and gives her everything and makes her look like $1 million. And that's the specialness of Mercedes. That's where she's a genius. So
Yep.
that's what I thought.
No, it's the same thing. And we've kind of talked about like if she would have beat Tony at some point when she has that belt, she probably shouldn't be so 50-50 with, she's got to win some matches a little bit more dominant. But with the TBS title, that is where she gets to be a magician in the ring with anyone she steps in, because that belt is the belt of anyone can show up and um go for that, challenge you for that belt. um for better or worse, it is the one that, the title defenses have less storyline. um but no, I'm in full agreement. I think the thing lacking is not the character, it's the story. She doesn't have, in truth, she doesn't have even the rivalry she had a great rivalry with Willow. She had a great thing with Chris. She had a great thing with Jamie for a couple of weeks. She had a great thing with Tony, but none of it is kept in storyline enough to be considered a rivalry, right? She's kind of just on her own island, kind of going through different challengers. So I think all of us would like to see more storyline driven stuff on that side for sure. But the match was very fun. I don't know that she's going to be on WrestleDream. She said on her public live that she would like to be on WrestleDream. It only has 8 matches on the main card and 2 matches on the kickoff. So it'll be interesting to see if she gets added to that this week. Speaking of WrestleDream, um, we have the Chris Statlander Tony Storm title match, which we talked about last week. I think you and I both agree pretty clearly that that's going to be Chris winning that and kind of stamping her title. And this past Saturday on Collision, we had a non-title match added to the main card. So love to see that. Kudos to Tony Khan for that. Jamie Hayter versus Thekla, which we saw the seed planted when Jamie was hurt. That's the first person that Thekla attacked when she showed up on AEW TV in El Paso. So that will be a fun match, and love seeing that added to the main card, not the kickoff show, the main card.
Yeah, I think Tekla, they've done a really good job with her. They've built her up nicely. I know there's this weird online debate about who's presented better, Thekla or Julia, and oh, look, see, AEW's this, and I get it. It's the same group, but like I just like what they've done with Thekla. They've separated her. She feels different. I like her, how she carries herself, and I'm excited. I love Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter is great. So I'm excited to see this match, and I think it's cool. So we have the main women's match is Tony Storm, Chris, right? That's the
Yep,
main one, right?
yep.
And Mercedes isn't going to be on Wrestle Dream, which I mean, I don't think. I mean, she's wrestling what? She would then literally wrestle in Mexico City Friday night, wrestle Saturday night, Wrestle Dream, then go to Winnipeg.
And Wrestle Sunday, yeah.
I mean, she can do it, but I feel like putting her on the Wrestle Dream card at this point is just throwing a match together because there's no build up.
Yeah, my idea for it would be this. If you announce the match ahead of time and she goes through another challenger, you got all these expectations. What's the match going to be? Blah, 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 blah. If she's going to be in St. Louis that night and you're short a match on the card, you can have her go out there and do an open challenge like she just did at Daly's place and do a really good little 12-minute match that people don't have expectations for, and they'll probably just enjoy it because if Mercedes gets 12 minutes like she did against Lacey, it will be a good match. Um, that being said, I weird she's missed both Wrestle. It's the only pay-per-view she's missed both years, but I would lean towards she's not going to be on it, but she did say she wants to wrestle on it. She said
I
that two
feel
days
like
ago.
a card called Wrestle Dream where they're putting together all these like great matches and leaving, arguably your biggest women's star and maybe you're
Your
just big
best women's wrestler for sure.
or best women's wrestler for sure, but like you could make a real strong case that despite what, quarter hours and ratings and all that stuff tell you, and I got to be honest, none of that stuff really matters for AEW because they're not great across the board. She's their biggest star. She's in her prime. She is not somebody who is like past her prime. She has a really good rabid fan base. I just think keeping her off the card is a mistake, but I don't know
I
how to
think
bring her on the card at this point.
we haven't updated it recently because she hasn't missed a pay-per-view, but if people remember, our buddy Mike had done a study on pay-per-view buys since the Willow match, and there were two pay-per-views I think she missed last year, and her on versus off was worth like 20 to 25,000 buys in the first year, which is not an insignificant number of buys. Was it 20 to 25 or 15 to 20?
15 to 20.
15 to 20. Okay. Still, it's weird money to be leaving on the table for Tony. Also added to the pre-show, fun little match with Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford as a tag team versus Willow and Harley Cameron. I don't know if this is the beginning of what will turn into the tag title tournament. I don't know if Willow and Harley are a permanent thing. Harley's story right now is she's trying to find a partner. It can't be Chris anymore because Chris wants to focus on being the women's world title. Mercedes told her nar, and Willow teaming with her at least for this one match. So three matches on that card, two on the main for the women. 8 matches only announced for the main card. They usually do 11 to 13, so I would suspect a couple more get announced, and maybe another women's one, which would be great.
Yeah, and I mean, who's to say Willow doesn't get taken out and Mercedes is the tag partner? Maybe that's what she's gonna do.
Megan and Willow seem to be heading against each other. Megan and Penelope are part of Stokely Hathaway's group now, which we also found out on Collision. So I think it'd be odd to take Willow out of that spot with all the business she's been doing with FTR.
Yeah, that's true. And I saw Willow really, laid into them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like Mercedes should be on this card, but I don't know who her opponent should be at this point. Like I have no.
I will say something that agrees with what you were saying earlier. And we can leave it at this, whether, I like her music, you don't like her music. I love the CEO character when done right. I just think they don't do it right. I will agree with you here, and then we can move on to our top five, unless you want to add something. Of the main women in AEW, Tony, Willow, Chris, Mercedes, call that the four. Decla, call that the five. Jamie, call it six. Those six women. She has the worst writing on AEW television. She has the worst, and I'm not saying she has the worst promo ability. I'm saying what they ask her to go out there and do is the worst of those six women from a non-match standpoint. And also the way that her feuds have been built since the Tony feud. I'm saying the last 2 months. I loved the Tony feud. I loved the Jamie feud. I loved her promos and that stuff. But I'm saying recency, it's been not good.
If okay, so take the music out of it. Music is, what it is. The CEO character, it can be easily, if written correctly, like if I got to produce it and write it, it would be the hottest character in all of wrestling, not just women's wrestling, wrestling. But they have gone about this in such a poor manner because she really should be the female $1 million man. I don't understand why this is so complicated. Like she literally should be, no, and I mean that. Like she should, like she sits there and she talks about, oh, she has her own dressing room. Like that became a story. You know what 1988 Ted DiBiase would do? He would absolutely have his own dressing room because he's the $1 million man. And
Right.
that's the character. Like, I don't know what, like, to me, to build, I would take her. This is what I would do personally, and I'm going to be quick about this. I would literally take her off TV in terms of bringing her into the arenas and wrestling. And I would do vignettes where she is literally the female $1 million man for a modern age. Like she literally, you know, plays on people's hardship needing money and buys and becomes the most arrogant, rich prick woman she can be. And I mean like I'm trying to think of the old $1 Million Man vignettes and I'm trying to
You
bring
got some stuff built in, yeah, but you got some stuff built in too. Watch her fly, fly her private to Winnipeg, fly
yeah,
her
yeah,
private to
yeah,
Denmark, and like
yeah,
do that whole thing. Hey,
like
Tony pays for this, and I'm gonna go win another belt, and that
yeah,
whole
like
deal.
I would almost like do this like before she wrestles a match in Winnipeg, they film a vignette with the promoter and like it's like she's talking to the promoter and then people are like, oh, she's gonna win the belt, right? Like it's something like that. And almost like where she turns the character up where like a kid comes up to her. And I know people are gonna be like, oh no, no, you don't want to do this because people already saying she's bad to her fans. If you know who Mercedes is and you've met her in person, I've met her twice in person. She's a super sweetheart. She is a nice person. She will take your picture. She'll sign your autograph. Like I have met her. But to make this character work, she has to lean into what people say about her. Like she literally has to, like a kid has to come up to her and be like, hey, can I have your autograph, Mercedes? Like $20, $100. Like she has to be a jerk. Like, the wrestling hero that everybody has is Bret Hart. And I'll tell a quick Bret Hart story. I met him and I asked him to sign my autograph, and he goes, I don't sign WWE cards anymore. Like that's what he said. But
Yeah,
like it's like, but he's Bret Hart. But like Mercedes does it. People are like, oh, what a jerk she is. She needs to lean into that. The CEO character, CEOs are not good people. I've never
right.
heard one person in my life be like, whoa, my CEO is they're either company shills or they're playing, the corporate card. But like nobody sits there and be like, I love my CEO. You love your teacher, you love your person at the grocery store. You don't necessarily love your CEO. So she has to lean into that. And Jen Pepperman and all these people who write for her, they gotta write, they gotta stop being meddling. Like, is she, isn't she, she has to be the most obnoxious, arrogant jerk. Like, honestly, people she interacts with online, she has to be mean to them. Like seriously, like on her account, she has to start being mean to everybody and being a jerk, and the character will take off just like Roman Reigns, where people hated him so much, now they love him. It's gonna work. It's wrestling. It always works. They love you when you're at the peak of your powers, no matter what that power is. Like I loved $1 Million Man. He was like one of my favorites. So yeah,
And
that's my
and
dive
and I
for the character.
and I optimistically hope that they're saving all of that juicy writing for when she's going to be a little bit more AEW homebound than putting matches on the indie scene. So we might have to wait a little while. If we get through a whole contract and we never get writing that's in depth with her, I'm going to be pretty upset. I love the pay-per-view matches. I love the 20-minute match. I'll take that over anything. I don't miss the days of missing pay-per-views, so don't hear me wrong. But yeah, a lot of us would like to see some more in-depth character stuff because she's she's great at it when given the chance. Top five. You ready?
Yes.
Top five finishers.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the back. I like the back and forth last week.
Okay. Well, you go five, I'll go 5 and 4, and we'll do it that way.
Cool. All right, I do have one honorable mention. My honorable mention is my this is a little bit more personal enjoyment list. Some of the other top fives, like it's so hard to figure out what the best finisher is and all that. I did take into account towards the top of the list things that have been protected and just are like a match over type of finisher. That has to be part of it. But three through 10, it's kind of like what do you like and whatnot, what looks good. I did lean heavily into finishers that nobody else does or does well. Um, so that's kind of what my list looked like. My one honorable mention is the Liv Morgan Oblivion. I think
Okay.
that's a really cool finisher. Um, when she was champion, it was a little bit of a she did it a bunch of cool ways that kind of came out of nowhere. And I think if people see that move get done in WWE, they would think of Liv Morgan immediately. So I think she put her stamp on that move. My number five, um, this is a move that has been around for a long time. The greatest men's wrestler of all time had this as his finisher, in my opinion. But nobody does it, including him, like her. The Kairi Sane insane elbow off the top rope is probably the most visually appealing finisher on my list. And though she hasn't been able to win major titles with it in WWE, I was enamored with this move when she was the NXT champion. And it's why I had her ranked ahead of Io Sky at their early run in NXT, because I just felt like if she was booked right on the main roster, hitting that elbow, and I've seen it live too a bunch of times. I just feel like that is a kind of like a you can get 20,000 people to pay attention with that move. And so that was my number five, Kyrie Sane insane elbow.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you five and four, but before I do that, I'll give you my two honorable mentions. So my two honorable mentions are moves that I've always thought are visually appealing, and I like how both of these women can get them out of nowhere. So number seven on my list would be the Black Widow, which is AJ Lee's finishing move. I've
Mm-hmm.
always loved that move. I've always loved how she can just get it out of anywhere, and because she's so slight, it looks really cool when she puts it on. My number six is actually the natural selection. I've always been a fan of a front-facing cutter, like a flapjack, an RKO, a diamond cutter, those type of moves. And I've always loved how Charlotte, she's very athletic. So when she does the somersault, my favorite natural selection, actually, it didn't actually win her a match. It was against Sasha, where she jumped off of the steps and did it on the outside floor in their match in Charlotte. But she didn't win the match. But I love the way that the natural selection looks. So now my number five is actually a very new move. But we talk about visually appealing. And I don't know if there's ever been a professional wrestler who has been more visually appealing to me than Stephanie Vacour. So my number five is the corkscrew moonsault. I think she nails this move perfectly. Like the way she did it on Julia, but then Julia caught her, the way she did it with Io, the way she did it with Jordan Grace. I just love this move. It looks like it hurts because she can spin her body and she's not very light. Like she's defined. So it looks like it hurts. Like it looks like it has oomph to it. Whereas
I would
a Tiffany moonsault doesn't.
I would bet you Tiffany Stratton would tell you it hurts after
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. But my number four actually is exactly your number five. It is the insane
Nice.
elbow. I've always thought that Kyrie has the best elbow in the business ever. Even more than now, to be fair, the early Macho Man elbows, and I'm talking about if you go back and watch him in Memphis and you go back and watch him in Lexington, he would do the high arc and drop. But the way Kyrie kicks her legs in the air and literally like contorts her body, and she can hit it from any angle and anywhere. And the point of the elbow looks like it really knocks you out. Macho Man was more smooth. Kyrie has like a viciousness to her elbow, like she like snaps it. It's my number four finisher of all time, the insane elbow.
Nice. All right, my number four. I tried to give credence to, and this is hard because submissions they exist to, even when they're the finisher, often elongate matches, especially when you get to a championship level, right? When you're working your way up, you get to your submission move, the match is over, But when you get to a certain level of talent on a pay-per-view, when you get your submission on, no matter who you are, it's going to get broken out of at least once. What I felt like was the most effective submission move for the longest amount of time, where I felt like once it was on, it was over. The minute it was on, it was over. My number 4 is the Asuka lock. I think there was a good 7 years where the storytelling was around not getting it locked on, but if it was locked on, you were not getting out. I thought it was protected so well. Um, it was it was like you know, the sweet chin music or the stone cold stunner of submissions. It was like boom, it's over, right? The legs wrapped, and they've even kind of cheated it lately is when, the 7 years where it was protected, the legs were wrapped so hard you couldn't do the reverse out pin on her, and that's how most people try to get out of it now, right? But they leave the gate open, so to speak, because Asuka had that thing locked in middle of the ring, and it was like you might as well have put a cement brick on someone at that point. So that's my number 4. Number 3, I think that this is a nation. It's a 1, 2, 3 punch. Ring intro, ring music entrance, the look of this performer, and their finisher. Those 3 things have made this person the biggest women's wrestling star in the world. So my number 3 is the Riptide from Rhea Ripley. Um, I think that it's about as straightforward in a great way as wrestling gets. You see her set it up, the crowd comes to their feet. Um, she lands it hard and heavy all the time, right into that pinning combination that does a very, that visual everyone loves where she's got the legs way back. She can use it as an avalanche finisher in bigger moments. And I think that between her look, her ring music, and this finisher, it matters less what she does in between.
Mhm.
And it's not a slight to her, but it's a 1, 2, 3 punch combination that has made her the biggest star on the planet right now. I think the finisher's part of it for sure.
Okay. You know what? Riptide was in my honorable mentions, and I couldn't. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I had no idea that she has 500,000 more Instagram followers than Becky and Mercedes. I had no.
She's at 6.6.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy cow. Um, but yeah, she's a big deal. She is the biggest women's wrestling star, maybe ever, quite honestly. And yeah, like I
The
can't
only women ahead of her, it's not she's the Venn diagram is wrestling and a little bit of that sex appeal. The only women that would be ahead of her are not really ahead of her for the wrestling category, right? Like you would be star
say,
ever,
sorry, Sable.
Sable, Miss Elizabeth, China, like she's in that she's in that rare air.
Yeah, yeah, she is. My number three actually is probably a move you'll have on your list higher up. But I had it at number three, and it is the bank statement. Same thing, this performer's look. I thought early 2015 to 2018, 2019 Sasha Banks, when she was a babyface, when that bank statement got locked in, and I've been in crowds, the crowd popped like it was nobody's business. Like, and she used to be able to get that thing on from so many different angles. And the reason that I have this at number three is her ingenuity and how she has used it historically. So she did a tilt-a-whirl with Charlotte in a match I saw in person in LA. Tilt-a-whirl, slammed Charlotte, bank statement, and then Charlotte rolled her over and then she bent her like, in the bank statement. I think one of the coolest bank statements of all time is doing it in Charlotte in the arena, on the arena floor in between the guardrails
The bars, yeah.
bars. How she used her leg against Sonya Deville in the Elimination Chamber because her arm was hurt, right? Her shoulder was hurt, so she told the story to use her leg. I love the bank statement, and I am hoping for her to go back to the bank statement as her finishing move and not, and kind of, send the moneymaker, like the way of the penny, just don't print it anymore. And I love the bank statement, the statement maker, bank statement, whatever you want to call it. I'm a fan of that move. So that's my number three. Number two could easily be number one, and it's probably number one on most lists like this. It could even be number one on yours, and that is the Widow's Peak from Victoria. I don't think aesthetically there's a move that looks as cool as this one in the history of women's wrestling, except my number one. This move is phenomenal. It's actually what I remember about that era of women's wrestling, the Widow's Peak. It's just a move that I felt like when she hit it, it was curtains. It was one, two, three. Nobody kicked out of it. Um, the move Beth Phoenix and now Jade Cargill do is not the Widow's Peak. It's kind of a different version. I love that move also, but the Widow's Peak to me was always for the until my now number one, it was always my favorite finishing move of all time for women. So that was my three and two.
My number two, you called it. My number two is the bank statement maker. For all the reasons you listed, um, the way that it's been used to tell stories in matches, I think is probably second to none as finishers are concerned. Again, winning inaugural titles with the leg version of it, in the bars, on Falls Count Anywhere. I also think that the way she gets to it, it's a little bit of it's the RKO of finishers, right? Like from out of nowhere, um, that tilt-a-whirl she does into it, and she still pulls it out every once in a while. When the person she's wrestling is willing to take a flat bump, straight into it and then get wrenched back, and they sell that flat bump right, there's very few things more breathtaking than
Hold on.
yeah, there are very few things more breathtaking. Like it pops the crowd, everyone goes to their feet. Did Riho do that? Did Riho take a flat bump on a tilt-a-whirl? Yeah, I knew it was one of the recent matches. So I love that. The reason you could argue against it being ranked this high is because, it as submissions do, it gets broken out of a lot, but it's won some of the biggest matches of her career. Um, Part of the greatness of that Charlotte feud was the natural selection and the bank statement and every variation that they changed to get into it and do it different as they had wrestled each other like 10 times, and every next match had a different version of getting to their winning spot. So um
Well, look at the match behind you, right? The picture you
yeah,
have. When she did the bank statement in Brooklyn and Bailey was trying to grab the arm, put her arm on the rope, she stomped her hand, and that gave you such a cool visual in the bank statement. But then when Bailey reversed it and did the bank statement to her, I mean the crowd went bonkers,
went
right?
nuts. Yeah,
So like I I think that I love that move when she does it. It's been bastardized a little bit because Io always did it in Stardom. I think Io did so both of them I think did it because of the crippler crossface because that's really in kind of what it is. But you can't now on TV say, "Well, I did it because of Chris Benoit." That's not going to happen. But I always thought Io did it like a different way. But I always liked the Mercedes one more.
I will say the last thing I'll say before I get to my number one, when she props up in bridges,
Yeah,
um
that's cool too.
especially as a baby face, it's over. Like business has been handled. The bank is closed. Like, so as a fan, when I would see her pop up into that bridge, I'm like, oh, we're winning. Okay, my number one. I appreciate that you called out the Widow's Peak. I wasn't watching wrestling closely during that time, so it would be fake for me to say, "Oh, the Widow's Peak popped me." That doesn't mean that Victoria shouldn't get her props, and that is a great, visually great finishing move. That's the period of time that I just wasn't watching wrestling. Um, but that's why we're a great combo to cover all bases. My number one, I would bet my house that is also your number one. It is inarguably the greatest women's finishing move of all time. It's the most protected women's finishing move of all time. Um, it is probably one of the most protected finishing moves of all time. The KOD, Kiss of Death, Bianca Belair. Um, Visually appealing, takes a very talented person to pull it off against all of the different women that she's pulled it off against. Strength, athleticism, um, just just you work that up in the gym and you say that's going to be my finish. That's a superstar finish. That's
Yeah.
There's just no other way. That's a superstar finish, and she's got the strength and body for it, and not everyone can do it. So it's at this elite level because it's not only is it a great finish, but it can't be copied by most people either.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It was a no-brainer. Like when we did this list for the top five, we kind of both probably knew going in, like, well, we're gonna have the same number one, and people are gonna think, oh, they're just reading off the same sheet of music. But the truth is, and you more hate this than I do. You do not like the spam finisher matches, right? Like you hate, oh, I'm gonna
Hate
keep
it,
your 57 crossroads and your 72 RKOs. Like you hate those matches
hate it,
in 2025, when everybody kicks out of everything multiple times, to have a move that is still so protected that nobody is actually just kicked out of it. They have, like, when she did it at Mania to Io, Rhea had to break the pin up. When she did it to Rhea, Io had to break the pin up, right? Like Io had to do the moonsault to get her. I think that that's what makes this move so special. The performer is the probably the visually perfect person to do it because she can do it to Nia Jax. She can do it to Piper Niven. She can do it to Kairi Sane. She could do it to anybody. And
Rhea, very
right,
tall
yeah.
people, yeah.
What I love about this move is it feels like the end. Like when she hits it, I know it's go home time. It's done. What's even better and how much they have protected this move is let's think back to Tiffany's cash in. Tiffany set it up so she would KOD Nia, and then she got rid of Bianca and won the title with the moonsault because she knows, hey, once you get KO'd, you ain't getting up. So like
I got a lot of time to do all this other
yeah,
business. Yeah,
like that to me is what I love about the KOD. It is such a protected finishing move in an era where we don't protect anything. Nothing. Look, there are two moves that are very protected. The one winged angel, Kenny Omega, the KOD, Bianca Belair. And they both kind of have like a front cutter, back cutter kind of thing. But for women's wrestling to have protected this so well, when Rhea Ripley kicks out of this thing at some WrestleMania, it's going to get one of the loudest pops of all time because nobody sees it coming because nobody has done it. So yes,
yeah.
it's a finish. Look, the list is top five finishing moves. The other four moves on my list and the other four on your list have not finished everybody. When Bianca Belair hits the KOD, it does finish the person. So to
Done.
me, that is the top five finishing moves. So we're coming to an end here. But we have a lot to cover next week. So WrestleDream is happening.
Hmm.
We are going to see what happens in Winnipeg with Mercedes on the on the independent
That
circuit.
will be after we record. Yeah,
And we're going to know what happens in CMLL by the time the next time we record. And
that's going to be a big, yeah,
so next week we have a lot of news to cover. And this Monday night on Raw, you're gonna
stacked.
get a tag match with Lyra Valkyrie and Bailey versus Roxanne and Raquel. And maybe now we're gonna see the fully fleshed out Bailey character, which by the way, Bailey's done some of her best work in this. She's been great. So I'm excited to see what direction they go, and I am excited. And I'm excited that in this house we've boycotted football for the last 2 weeks. It doesn't exist. When my team decides that they want to win games again, then I will get back on the path. You know, the sky has fallen in Philadelphia. We are a complete mess. Even though we've won 20 of our last 22 games, we're a complete mess. But see, when one sport lets you down, you have another one that props you up. And, you know, for the first time since 2016, my Toronto Blue Jays are in the American League Championship Series with home field advantage against the Seattle Mariners. And thank you to your Detroit Tigers for dragging that game on into the middle of the night. So it'll be a baseball Sunday for me, not necessarily a football Sunday.
I'm the opposite. Baseball is dead to me for several months. My Tigers just, no one showed up to hit the ball, unfortunately. Shout out to Tarek Skubal on one of the greatest pitching performances in Major League history. Um, yeah, it's a football Sunday for me, though. Go Lions, got Lions and Chiefs tonight. What else is new in the world? The Lions defense is banged up. We're going to be missing 3 to 5 starters, but maybe we can hang 40 and win the game. So that's what I'm
I'm
rooting for.
excited. I'm really excited for that game. You know, that's a Sunday night game. It should be. Um, you know, I don't know if there are any other games. I'm interested in both Monday night games, but that game is the one I'm most interested in today. I think there's another one. Who does Seattle play? Jacksonville. That's the other game I'm really interested in. But you know, good luck to your Lions. They have been white hot. And, you know, the Chiefs are coming off a very bad loss against Jacksonville. So, you know, maybe you guys get a 99-yard pick six and that's how you can end up winning the game. But putting the Chiefs at 2-4 would be an interesting talk show narrative Monday because, you know, again, and I'm probably biased here, you know, my Eagles are 4-2 and their season is over. But the Chiefs
Right.
are 2-3, their season is not over. People
They're
are
just waiting to break out.
confident
Right.
about them, even though we're the defending champs. But no, good luck to your Lions. And yes, Scooble is phenomenal. I mean, he is a magnificent pitcher. And truth be told, they probably should have kept him in a little bit longer in that Seattle game because it's game five. Again, the only thing I look at when I see your Tigers is they just got to get some offense, right? Like they just got to get some offense because they had chances in that game to win.
We have the best offense in AAA, best offense in AA, best offense in high A, but it didn't do us any damn good this year. And we should have brought up a couple of those kids for this roster because the pitching was there for us to make a move. We've got the top prospect in baseball is a second baseman named Kevin McGonigal, who's in AA. Um, and he's a professional hitter. He's the type of guy who, even when he's not hitting home runs or doubles, he's working a 7, 8, 9 pitch count. And there ain't nobody on the Tigers that does that now. But I digress. I am rooting for your Blue Jays. Go Blue Jays. I
Yeah.
hope you guys take care of it. I'm rooting for the Dodgers on the other side. That is my wife's team. We're looking for an all blue World Series.
We
Um,
you know what? We call that the Drake Kendrick Lamar
the
series.
Drake Kendrick Lamar
That
series.
would
Let's see
be
it.
that would be really good. Honestly, the Dodgers are still to me the best team, and I like I don't know if anybody can beat them. Milwaukee has beaten them every time this year, but I don't know if they could do that in the playoffs.
Actually, now that I think about it, all 4 teams left are blue. You got 2 royal blue and 2 navy blue.
Here's the thing about you said about contact, and this is a baseball nerd discussion, but in the Tigers Mariners 15 inning classic, there were 36 strikeouts. In 4 games against the Yankees, against Max Fried and Schlittler and the other two pitchers, the Blue Jays struck out a total of 24 times in a
Yep.
4 games. So what the Blue Jays do very well is they don't strike out. They put the ball in play. And that's their secret sauce, right? Like that's what they've done all year. They are I hate to give I mean A-Rod's a great analyst, so why there's no shame in giving him the but he said they are the jab boxer. They jab, they jab, they jab, they jab, they jab, they jab, they wear you out, and then they knock you out late. The
Yep.
Yankees, the Tigers, they all want to knock you out in the first round. But if they can't, they're in trouble. And so I don't know how I feel about being the overwhelming American League favorite at this point. I'm not used to this for the Blue Jays. Like they are the overwhelming favorite by the betting odds, and they're the second favorite to win the World Series now. So I don't know.
Well, all starts with game one, so you got to take that today. So good luck.
Gosman,
Um,
yeah, we'll see.
Looking forward to yeah, I think it's going to be a great week of WWE TV. We've got a tentpole show for AEW on WrestleDream, and I really think we're going to be raving about that CMLL match, win or lose for Mercedes. I think the crowd's going to be hostile in the best way, and so I think we're going to have a lot of fun discussion next week.
All right. On that note, good luck, Lions. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, everyone.